Hello and welcome to the second part of the campervan kitchen build. Right, so I've got a big piece of solid wood timber board which I'm going to use as the worktop in the kitchen, but it's going to be a little bit complicated cutting out the kitchen bit. The stove and the sink and so on. So I want to make sure it's absolutely spot on, and I don't want to waste a piece of wood or make a mess of it. So what I'm going to do is just use this old piece of 12 mil which I've got left over. I'm just going to do it and not use a template, make sure it fits all right with that, and then just copy from this onto the sheet of main board. And hopefully if I make any errors, which I probably will, as I do tend to sort of do that quite often, I'll make them on this piece of wood and not on the more expensive piece. That's the plan. All right, so let's just measure out what I want. I'm moving house soon, so I don't want loads of offcuts and loads of bits left over. I want to try and use up as much as I can and get rid of it. So I'm not bothered about using this piece. I saw on eBay that people were selling templates for various different stoves, templates to cut out, and I thought, well, that's a bit of a waste. You just do it yourself. It's not that difficult. But after looking at it a bit, I thought, well, this is maybe a bit difficult. So I spent 20 quid anyway and bought a template. Oh, this is just a piece of cardboard. But it's quite handy. I've marked out underneath, and it just shows you where to cut. Because parts of it, because you have to cut to different depths, so it sits down in, and it's like a shelf support underneath. I'll show you when I'm cutting it, but it'll make more sense then. But yes, so you cut out one bit, and then the bits that are outside the dotted lines here, you cut down basically halfway down through the worktop to let it sit into. A bit complicated, but the template makes it so much easier. It's definitely worth getting one. And I've already marked out here, I probably can't see it, but I've marked out here then in pencil where I need to cut. I won't need that anymore, so if anyone wants that, I might still have it if you drop me a message. All right, let's get cutting. So now in these bits that are left over, these are support bits. So what I have to do is get my router out and router down sort of maybe halfway. I'm not sure how deep to go, but if I router out all this about halfway down, hopefully that should be okay. So I've cut out that hole for the hob, and I've routed the edge bits here. So let's see how all this fits in. Perfect. Well, I'm pleased with that. That's okay. Right. So what I'm going to do now is cut out the other big sheet of wood for this. I just wanted to make sure that was all okay first, and I'd have it fitting in there good and proper. So I've cut out the hardboard now, which I'm going to use. This is going to be the final worktop. I've cut it out, routed out all those edges, checked it all fits, sanded it down, degreased it all, and now I'm just going to put some varnish on it. This end piece here I'm going to have some hinges at the end of the worktop that can just flick up at the end. And then I'm going to use this interior varnish. I'll probably have to put a few coats of it on. This wood is very soft. In hindsight, it might be too soft, but hopefully this stuff will give it a good durable finish. So time to put a couple of coats of that on there. Okay, I've treated the worktop now. I also found an old tin of satin varnish, which I'll put a couple of coats of that on just to give it a little bit of a sheen. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Right, well, now for securing the worktop down, I've used a couple, can't really see them there. There's one. I've used a few connector blocks like that up the front. And down this end, I'm just going to put some pocket holes through on either side here. So that should make it all good and solid. Yeah, so just get those pocket holes in now. Right, I'll put on these brackets now for the flippy up bit at the end. I've already marked where my 3 holes are going. Now this is only a piece of 12mm ply, so I'm not too keen on just putting through a couple of little self-tapping screws into that, because if there's any weight putting that, I don't think it'll be enough. So I'm going to have to drill out these little holes a little bit bigger. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bolt through, like so, just for a little nut on the other side. I think it'll be a lot more secure. So yeah, so I just need to drill a couple of holes through these just to make these holes a little bit wider. Mark them all out. Bob's your uncle. Right, so I finally got that bolt through and a nut on the other side. That was quite a faff because it's in behind that drawer and I can't take that drawer out because the seat's in the way. But got it done eventually after lots of cursing and swearing. And now I'm going to put the worktop on now. I've already offered it up and marked some where the holes are going to be. So I just need to drill a couple of little pilot holes and then put some screws through the bottom and onto that. I'm going to put these little self-adhesive tiles, they're very thin, just sticky on. So I'm going to cover this in it. I've already cleaned this down with white spirits, just give it a good degrease. I've never used these before. I would imagine it's quite straightforward. Right, I've done a few more bits now this morning which I didn't record because there was work went outside and it was very noisy. But I've put on the 240 volt sockets there. It just all comes down and it's connected up to the 240 volts, and then that just pulls up there. Very easy to install, just a 60mm hole there, and it just, yeah, you can see there the connection is just, it twists up and tightens up that way. and then it just plugs into the 240 volt. Very straightforward. And then that just popped down there then again. I've also connected up the water in here. Can we see that? So I've connected up the water pipe there onto the cold mains. Now I'm only connecting up the cold water at the moment because, well, firstly because I haven't got any hot water heater in here in the van at the moment, and with this sink I only got a cold water tank. So that's all I'm connecting up for the moment. So that's connected up in there. Wastewater pipe is connected there as well, and the gas hose is connected up in there too. We have a look underneath here, then you can see where the waste pipe comes out here. That's going to go through a hole here in the step and go underneath the chassis over to the wastewater tank, which is underneath the floor over here somewhere. And then gas bottle is going to go here. I'm going to get a gas locker in here as well, but that's going to have to be left for another video because I'm not going to do that for a little while and I want to get this video out. These are the power cables to connect up to the tap. So just need to connect those up, and then this needs to be bolted down, and then that's it more or less done then. So I've got a floor to go in here. Just sits. So that will just sit in there. This will get screwed down obviously. And then, like I said, I'm going to get a gas locker or something here, maybe with the door on the outside. And then I've got a camping gas 907 bottle, which will go around there somewhere. And then I also need to just put a couple of little hinges for this little drop down drawer here, which is the step underneath the cupboard. So yeah, so the drain pipe will come underneath here and out through the step under the van and into the waste tank on the opposite side of the van. So there's this little piece of trim to go around the edge, stop any spills or anything. I'll zoom from getting in on behind it. Bit fiddly, especially in the corners. All right, then we just got to go around a few little screws through here just to hold it down. I'll just do the first one, our first couple, and then we'll call it there. Let's just empty them in there, it's easiest. There's a little cup that goes in there. That goes into that. Screw that down, and then there's this little cap then that goes on top of it to get a nice little neat finish. Right, so just need to go around and do all of those, and then yeah, we call it a day then in this video. So thanks very much for watching, and see you again next time.